Welcome to the I Love Recruiting podcast with your host, Adam Roach.
Welcome back, everybody, to the I Love Recruiting podcast. I am your host, Adam Roach, and today is step number 5 out of 6 in the recruiting process. So if you remember, let me go back to my phone here real quick and tell you. So we had 5 steps. Well, actually, we have 6 steps, and this is step number 5. Let me go back and share with you. We started this back in May 18th was the last time, well, it was the first time that we had a step air, and that was Know Your Pond. And then we went to step number 2, and step number 2, actually, I should have put a step number 1 because that was mental, right? Be prepared. Show up authentically and be prepared for your meeting to come from a place of curiosity versus recruiting and selling. Step number 3, we did that one on June 24th, and that was relationships, building the relationship. That was step number 3. Step number 4 was done back in July, and that was creating validity. And gang, welcome to step number 5. This is all about time. Time. Have you ever heard that phrase, time on task beats talent every time? Well, that really doesn't relate to this. However, I just like that because I said that to my son the other day in tennis. He's a 12-year-old competing at national level. And I told him, well, time on task beats talent every single time. So let's talk about time, though, as it relates to recruiting. And how does that work? Well, you see, I've been running these group coaching sessions now for the last 8 weeks. And we've built in there the modules and then the steps of learning all around the equation. Relationships plus validity over time equals self-discovery. Did you just hear step number 6? Yeah, self-discovery. We're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the time aspect that it takes to recruit somebody. Can you recruit someone in one sitting? Maybe, if you define their value gap and you know how to fill it, and you actually have permission to do that because you are showing up authentically and they are ready to receive. Sometimes, though, when you sit down with someone and you start to get to know them and build the relationship, the time component can take a while. Let me give you a little example. I have a wonderful friend now in a man that was part of one of my offices. It took me, gang, 4 years. 4 years to recruit who I used to call Grumpy Greg. Greg Flanagan, if you're listening to this, I love you, buddy. Greg was so fun and so finicky about me recruiting him that you know what he used to make me do? Come to his office. Adam, sure, I'll listen to what you have to say, but you got to come to my office. That's right. So I said, no problem whatsoever. I'll go to your office. I would show up at his office. I would talk to the front desk person, attempt to recruit her because she was pretty talented. And she would set me into the conference room. She would set me in the conference room and say, Greg will be right out. As if he owned the dang place. He kind of did because he was definitely their top earner, top producer. So we sat down, we'd have conversations. I'd share with him, I'd create a value gap. He knew that I was creating a value gap. He knew that he needed what I had to offer. He just said no. And I finally got a call from Greg. About 4 years later, I hadn't given up on him, but I hadn't called him in probably 6 months or so. He says, Adam, I'm ready to make a move. That's okay, Greg. Where are you moving to? He says, well, it's between your office and another office. I said, no, it's not, Greg. There is no other office, and you know that. He says, you know what? You're right. Thank you for being patient. I understand that where I am isn't going to get me to where I want to go. And he came over to my office. Now, I share something with you because, again, that took patience. I don't have a lot of patience. And I'm sharing that because I'm assuming some of you probably don't have a lot of patience either. Think about that. We want results right now. We live in an environment that is instant gratification. We pick up that phone, we instantly get the fix that we need. Not always in this attraction/recruiting phase and state that we are in. Sometimes it takes time. Okay, so let's pause that conversation. So in our group coaching today, we had someone that said, listen, I just don't know how to consistently follow up with them. Okay, so that means time. Well, let's talk about that. How do you know what to consistently follow up to them with? Well, if you did a great job with your Relationship building needs analysis, 26 questions. If you want that, go to iloverecruiting.com, put in your name, and it will automatically send it to you. 26 questions on how to build a relationship. If you did that the right way, gang, you will understand their gap. They will probably understand their gap. And it's now up to you over this time period to consistently fill that gap with what? It starts with a V and ends with value. That's right, value. Relationship plus validity, value over time equals step number 6. And I'm going to help you with that here in a few weeks. Right now, we're talking about time. So what else can you do in that time period that you are touching them now with that value? You follow up. Here's some good scripts. When you follow up with a phone call, let's back up for a second. Let's say you've had your second appointment and you were unable to close. Okay, great. It is what it is. I want you to write this down. Some will, some wait. So what? Who's next? Some will, some won't, some wait. So what? Who's next? Right? Remember that. Some will, some won't, some wait. So what? Who's next? Build your pipeline. That's called time. And when that happens, you set the expectation that you will follow up with them in a specific amount of time, and then you better follow up with them. Okay? Fortune's in the follow-up. So now let's look at that. When you follow up with them, let's say you do it once a month with a phone call and 3 other times with a touch. And that touch can be either email or text message. I'm going to give a shameless plug to Exceed.io right now. If you do not have a recruiting platform and you want one, go register at Exceed. That's XCEED.io, and that is our recruiting platform. It will set it all up for you. So what do you do when you call them? Here's what I want you to say. Write this down. Hey, Bob, or in this case, Greg, right? We'll use Greg again. Greg, I was just running through some of the numbers and I came across your name and I wanted to say congratulations. And he will say, Adam, for what? And you will say, because I was looking at the board numbers, as I understand they are the language of business, and you are up by X%. Period. End of story. There's more scripts to that. If you're in our group coaching, I'll give them to you. Yes, that's another shameless plug. But here's what I want you to do. Tell them you are their biggest cheerleader, right? Tell them that. Tell them that consistently. I'm your biggest cheerleader and I like to watch your numbers. I want to see you grow and I want to hit your goal. Greg, do you remember 2 years ago when you told me that you are doing, you want to take your family on a vacation, you want to go back to Ireland, right? Have you done that yet, Greg? Keep that in front of them. Here's another one that I had over time. This person just joined one of my offices and that took 6 years. Now, I didn't have anything to do with the last year or so. However, this was one of the things that I did based on their value gap. And I can't remember if I shared this or not. This individual was a fisherman. He enjoyed fishing. That was his big why. And in that, I sent him a fishing pole with his why attached to it, hooked on to, well, basically the fishing pole. And I said, just trying to catch you. Don't forget about you trying to catch these. He eventually came over. I filled the gap with the value and it took time. So gang, here we are. We're going to wind this down and we're going to say it takes time. Understand that it takes time and be patient with the time. And please, if you do anything in the recruiting space, learn to follow up. Follow up, follow up, follow up, right? If you're using Exceed, here's what's going to happen. When you're on the Today page, it's going to show you who you should be following up with. If you have a new one, it's going to put it in there for you. And if you have follow-ups in there, guess what? You're going to get an email that says you should follow up with these 35 people today. The fortune's in the follow-up. So there we are. That is step number 5, and that is time. And their recruiting equation is relationships plus validity, value over time equals self-discovery. I am your host. I am your podcast person, Adam Roach. If you like what I heard, leave me a comment. If you didn't like what I heard, that's okay. Let me know that too, and we'll continue to bring you more value. If you want those 26 questions, like I mentioned, go register at iloverecruiting.com, and we'll send those over to you. And if you want to be part of group coaching again, well, just let me know because there is a field. If you scroll down on I Love Recruiting, you can be included in the next I Love Recruiting group coaching. That's all I have for you. Everyone take care and be patient. Bye-bye.